Hello everyone, welcome into the second lecture on high performance liquid chromatography. Myself, Mr. MS Bhale, I am working as an assistant professor at Gokhale Education Society's Arts, Commerce and Science College, Jawar. So, in previous lecture, we have seen the basic principle of HPLC and the schematic diagram of the HPLC. So today we are going to start the components of the HPLC instrument. So in that case we have seen this schematic diagram in previous lecture also, right? These are all components of this HPLC instrument. First component is the solvent reservoir, then degasser system, mixing vessel, high pressure pump, pre-column, flow splitter, sample injection port, pressure gauge, analytical column, then the detector and recorder. These are all component of the HPLC instrument. So today we are going to learn all these component in detail. So first component is the solvent reservoir and degassing system. So in this case, in yesterday's lecture we have seen the function of the solvent reservoir and degassing system. Actually the solvent reservoir is made up of glass or stainless steel which is having capacity up to 1 to 5 liter of the solvent. The solvent reservoir are connected with the degasser to remove trapped or dissolved gases like oxygen and nitrogen. This is the main function of the degasser. Okay, that will be remove what the oxygen and nitrogen that will be dissolved into the solvent, that will be removed. Degasser consists of a vacuum pump for heating and stirring solvent. If a single solvent of a constant composition is used for the separation is called as isocratic elution. These definitions we have already seen in previous lecture. Then if a two solvent of a same composition or different compositions is used for the separation is called as gradient elution. Okay, so the second component is the high pressure pump. This is the main component in a SPLC instrument, that is pressure pump. The requirement for SPLC pump: first requirement, generation of pressure up to 6000 psi. That means the pump should able to give the pressure up to 6000 psi. Second, pulse free output. That means it should continuously flow of the mobile phase. Third one, flow rate from 0.1 to 10 ml per minute. That means per minute it should pass the mobile phase up to 0.1 to 10 ml. Flow will be flow reproducibility of 0.5%. Resistance to corrosion by variety of solvents. That means it should not corrode with the any kind of solvents. Actually there are three types of pumps. In that case, first pump will be the screw driven syringe type of pump. Actually this pump produces a pulse free output. Its flow rate is easily controlled. It's having only 250 ml capacity. See, it is having very low capacity. So generally this type of, or you can say screw driven syringe type of pump will not employed into the SPLC, but any other case we can this pump also employed. So the second one, the reciprocating pump. Okay, actually the diagram is there of this reciprocating pump. First of all, we will see that diagram. See, this is the schematic diagram of reciprocating pump. This one. See, in this case, this will be the motor. Here will be reciprocating process. Here will the seal. This is the chamber. See, this one will be the chamber, and this part will be the piston. That piston will be connected here into the reciprocating through this motor. That means with the help of this motor, this piston will be work, right? So, and from this side this solvent will be going inside into this chamber, and from this side it will going to into the column. Okay, here will be the pulse damper will be there. That means whatever excess mobile phase will be passed by this pump, that will be going into this pulse damper. And see, here is this one and this one, there are the ball check valves. Okay, these are the actually component. Now we will see how it works. When the mobile phase or the solvent which is coming through the mixing vessel, that will be come up to this one. When this piston from back and forth motion, when it will going into the back side, this one, at that time what will happen, this valve will get automatically open. At that time the mobile phase or you can say solvent going into this chamber, right? When the back side piston coming in front side, at that time this valve will get automatically closed and this valve will get opened. At that time whatever mobile phase or you can say solvent coming inside into this chamber, that will be going through this valve into the column. This is the actually process of this reciprocating pump. This piston will be work with the help of this motor. This will be continuously going back, forth and back portion, motion. When with the help of that motor, it will going in front side, that will be forth motion, and going into back side, that will be back motion. So this will be continuously going on. At that time the mobile phase or you can say solvent which is coming into this chamber with the through this valve, when the piston will going into back side and when piston coming into front side, like this coming into front side, at that time this valve get closed and entire solvent will going through this valve into the column. Okay, so this is the process of this reciprocating pump. Now we will see actual process. So in this case, this pump consists of a small cylindrical chamber that is filled and emptied by the back and forth motion of a piston. The pump motion produces a pulse flow that must be subsequently damped. Advantage of reciprocating pump is high pressure up to 10,000 psi. This is, see, it should, we have seen the requirement of the high pressure pump up to what, 6,000 psi pressure, but see, this reciprocating pump will create a pressure up to 10,000 psi. That is the main advantage of this pump. It is useful for gradient elution and with constant flow rate. It is independent of column back pressure and solvent viscosity. So see, this reciprocating pump will be the highly useful into the SPLC instrument. So we have seen the second pump. This is the diagram of the reciprocating pump. Now we will see third number pump, that is pneumatic pumps. Okay, pneumatic type of pumps. It consists of a collapsible solvent container that can be pressurized by a compressed gas. Pumps of this type of are simple, inexpensive and pulse-free output. It has limited capacity and pressure output. It is not useful for gradient elution. See, with the help of this pump we cannot carry out the gradient elution. Only isostatic elution we can carry out with the help of this pneumatic pumps. So this is the limitation of that pneumatic pump. Now we will move towards the third number component, that is pre-column. See, pre-column. It is also known as guard column. The function of the pre-column are: the first one, it used to saturate the mobile phase with the stationary phase. Second one, it is avoid loss of the stationary phase from the column. Third one, the pre-column removes impurity from the mobile phase and prevent contamination of analytical column. See, these are the three major functions of the pre-column. Actually, it will saturate the mobile phase along with stationary phase. Then the avoid the stationary phase, loss of stationary phase from the column. And third part is the main, very IMP, that is it will remove impurities which is present into the solvent, or you can say mobile phase, that will be removed into the pre-column and prevent contamination of analytical column. These are the main function of the pre-column. The pre-column should have the same composition as that of the analytical column. Only difference in between pre-column and analytical column is what? The particle size in the pre-column is larger as compared to the analytical column. This is the major difference between pre-column and analytical column. If the pre-column gets saturated, it has to be discarded and replaced with a new column. If it is saturated, then we can replace it by another pre-column. So fourth one will be the sample injection system. That means how to inject sample into the pre-column, analytical column. That part we can see now. The sample introduction in liquid chromatography is based on sampling loop such as shown in figure. So see the figure, this one. This is the actually load position. That means in this load position we can load the sample into the system. This is the injection position. That means injection of this sample into the column, that we are going to see now. See first this load position. See in this case, see this one number 6, 2, 2 and 3 will be connected, 1, 6 and 4 will be connected. See in this case the two portion there will be from pump. That means mobile phase coming from the high pressure pump, that will be going directly into the column, but there is no sample into that mobile phase. Along with that mobile phase, see 2 and 3 will be connected. Whatever mobile phase coming through the pump, that will be going directly into the column. At that time what will happen? Here see number 4, the sample here we can inject, or you can say going into this type of loop. This is the loop. In this loop from the number 4, this sample will going into the loop. See when the load position will be complete, that means entire sample, whatever volume we require, that we can take into this sampling loop, that will be present into the 1 and this 4 portion, right? Excess of the sample, that will be going through this 6 portion, but here whatever volume we require, that only we can take into this sampling loop. This is the load position. When we load this sample into this sampling loop, then second part will be the injection of the sample into the column. So see in this figure, injection position, in this figure 1 and 2 will be connected and 3 and 4 will be connected. We have already loaded the sample into this loop, right? When the system will rotate, at that time 1 number and 2 number will be connected, 3 number and 4 number will be connected, right? So at that time what will happen? Whatever sample going into this loop we have already loaded into this system, then the mobile phase which is coming through the pump, that will be going through this number 2 position, which is through one which is coming like this into this loop. Here the sample already is there, right? That sample again going to this 4 number to the 3 number. Here the 3 number there will be column portion is there. That means whatever sample we have already loaded into the system, that will be going into the column. Likewise, we can inject the sample into the analytical column. So this is the process of this sample injection part. Now we will see remaining part of that sample injection system. These devices are an integral part of this same liquid chromatography equipment. Interchangeable loops are available to provide a choice of sample size ranging from 5 to 500 microliter. The reproducibility of injection with a typical sampling loop is a few tenths of a percent relative. Many HPLC instruments incorporate an auto sampler with an automatic injector. These can inject continuously variable volumes. That means with the help of this sample injection system, or you can say sample injection loop, we can inject variable volumes rather than the actual, or you can say fixed volume. We can inject variable volumes according to the requirement. So these are the actually components. There are two more components will be remaining, that is detector and the recorder, that we are going to see into the next lecture. Thank you.